It was past midnight when the lock turned, soft, hesitant, like the door itself was afraid to wake their house. I lay still on the couch, the TV frozen on a dim blue glow, heart suddenly louder than the ticking clock on the wall. The rain had been tapping the windows all evening, steady and patient, but this sound was different. This sound knew me. A breath followed, uneven and shallow. Then my name, whispered the way someone says a prayer when they don't know if it will be answered, or forgiven. For a moment, I didn't move. Not because I was afraid, but because I was certain that if I did, the moment would collapse under its own weight. I'd learned, over the years, that some memories are so vivid they can impersonate reality. Grief does that. Loneliness does it even better. I'd heard her voice in my dreams before, standing in kitchens that no longer existed, laughing in hallways that had been painted over by time. I told myself this was just another trick of an exhausted mind. But then the door creaked open. I sat up slowly, the old couch groaning beneath me, and the room shifted into focus. The hallway light spilled inward, a narrow blade cutting through the darkness, and there she was, standing exactly where I'd imagined her 100 times, and yet nothing like the woman I remembered. Her hair was damp, darker than it used to be, clinging to her cheeks and neck. Her coat was wrapped tight around her, as if the night itself had chased her here. She looked smaller somehow. Not fragile, just worn thin, like a letter folded too many times. I hadn't heard her voice in 3 years. Not since the night she left with a suitcase that wasn't full and eyes that were. That night had been loud, raised voices, slammed drawers, words that could never be unsaid. This night was quiet. So quiet it felt sacred. She didn't step inside right away. She just stood there, one hand still on the door, as if unsure whether she was allowed to cross the threshold. Her eyes met mine, and something flickered in them, relief, fear, regret, maybe all three tangled together. I noticed the way she breathed, quick and shallow, like she'd run the whole way here. I didn't know where else to go, she said, still whispering, as if the past might be sleeping in the next room and she didn't want to wake it. The words landed softly but carried years of weight. I stood, unsure of what my body was supposed to do now that my mind had gone completely blank. I took a step toward her, then stopped. The space between us felt charged, like a thin wire humming with everything we'd never finished saying. I noticed the tremor in her hands when she let the door close behind her. I noticed the faint smear of mascara beneath one eye, the scuffed heel on her boot, the small cut on her knuckle like she'd been careless, or desperate. I wanted to ask 100 questions. Why now? What happened? Are you hurt? Did someone follow you? Why me? But none of them seemed as important as the fact that she was here, breathing, real, standing in my hallway at almost 1 in the morning. You're soaked, I said finally, my voice rough from disuse. It sounded older than I felt. She nodded, as if that simple observation had taken all her strength to accept. I grabbed a towel from the bathroom and handed it to her. Our fingers brushed for less than a second, but the contact sent a familiar shock through me, sharp and unmistakable. Her hand was cold. Mine wasn't. That difference alone felt like a lifetime. Thank you, she said, and for the first time, her voice broke. Just slightly. Enough to make my chest tighten. She toweled her hair clumsily, not really drying it, just giving her hands something to do. When she passed me, her sleeve brushed my arm, and the memory hit like a wave, Sunday mornings with sunlight spilling across the kitchen table, her stealing the first sip of my coffee and making a face because it was too strong, the way she used to tuck her feet under my leg when she was cold. The mind is cruel that way. It doesn't remember in pieces. It remembers in floods. She sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the floor like it might give her instructions. I stayed standing, suddenly unsure where I belonged in my own living room. The TV screen had gone dark, reflecting a faint, distorted version of us, two people sharing a space that used to be a home. She was shaking. Not violently. Just enough that if you weren't looking closely, you might miss it. I remembered how she used to shake when she was angry, how she'd press her lips together to keep from saying something she couldn't take back. This was different. This was fear. Do you want water? I asked. She nodded again. I brought her a glass and watched her take small sips, like she didn't trust her hands not to spill. When she set it down, she wrapped her arms around herself, eyes fixed on a crack in the floorboard. I tried to be brave, she said after a long silence. I really did. The words cracked open something in the room. In me. I didn't interrupt. I didn't move closer. I just listened, because sometimes listening is the only way to prove you're still here. She told me she'd thought leaving was the only way to survive. That staying had felt like drowning slowly, like waking up every day knowing you were disappointing someone you loved. She said she'd wanted to become someone else, someone stronger, someone who didn't need so much reassurance. The city had promised her that. Bright lights. New starts. Anonymity. It worked at first, she said, her voice barely above the hum of the refrigerator. I felt lighter. Like I could finally breathe. I knew that feeling. I'd felt it too, in the months after she left. The strange freedom of emptiness. The illusion that silence is peace. But then, she continued, it got loud again. Just a different kind of loud. She didn't give details, and I didn't ask. I could see it in the way her shoulders slumped, in the careful distance she kept from me, like she was afraid one wrong move would send her running back into the rain. I wondered what had happened tonight, what final moment had pushed her to my door instead of anyone else's. I kept telling myself I wouldn't come, she said. That I didn't deserve to. The clock ticked. The rain softened. The house seemed to lean in around us, listening. You always did, I said before I could stop myself. She looked up at me then, really looked, and for a second the years fell away. There was the woman I'd loved, unguarded, uncertain, hopeful and terrified all at once. Her eyes filled, but she blinked the tears back stubbornly. I don't expect anything, she said quickly. I needed somewhere safe. Just for tonight. Something about the word safe lodged itself in my chest. I nodded. You can stay, I said. As long as you need. Relief washed over her face so openly it hurt to see. She pressed her lips together, nodded once, and looked away before the tears could spill. I pointed down the hall to the spare room, the one I'd never finished turning into anything else because some part of me had always known better than to close that door completely. There are clean sheets, I said. Bathroom's yours. I'll be out here. She stood slowly, like her legs might give out, then hesitated. For a moment, I thought she might reach for me. Instead, she just whispered my name again, softer this time, heavier, and walked down the hall. I sat back down on the couch after she closed the door, my heart still racing, my mind struggling to catch up with reality. The house felt different now. Not full. Not healed. Just awake.